everyone. It is SeaTactics for the win, otherwise known as Ben, back again with another video. And this time, I have a very special guest. I have one of my YouTube inspirations, and please introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Bob Samurai. I review anime, talk about video games, really all sorts of stuff over on youtube.com/Bob Samurai. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. No, this is great for me. I'm shaking a little bit, but that's fine.
Well, don't do that. We're
So
both sitting in our underwear here, so no
yeah,
need for that. Well,
yeah.
actually, I probably made it worse.
No. If anything, you made it worse and better. But yeah. So I've been watching, Bob Samurai for years. I just asked him to be on a video, and he agreed, surprisingly. Which, usually, on Twitter and stuff like that, it's hard to get in contact with people sometimes. But
I I don't think it's hard to get in contact with me. It really just depends. Like I remember interacting with you on Twitter. That's the only reason I responded because I do get people who invite me to things and they're like, "Wow, this is awesome." But then I feel like they've only seen like one video. They have like a very poor
yeah,
understanding and it's just like I'm not really popular enough to give people any sort of a boost or anything, but you do get the people that come out of nowhere and have never seen more than 3 videos sometimes.
yeah. You have a whole back catalog of just insane. You even reviewed Bible Black, which is
Yeah.
crazy. That's just insane to me. But you
Well, I've been doing
also
YouTube since, like 2007,
yeah
actually 2008, but I've really done all sorts of stuff, and I just like to have fun with it. There was a period when I was just mainly reviewing anime, but mostly it's just having fun. So if I feel like reviewing a hentai, I'll review a hentai.
yeah. You've been doing it since 2007. I mean, I think we've both been around for quite a while. Not for
When
me
did
in
you
the
join?
I started in 2011.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
when, the community was really starting to kick off there.
Yeah. I wasn't even a part of the anime community back then. I wasn't even
Mm.
watching anime. I didn't actually get into doing anime videos until 2014. So,
So, when you first started, joining YouTube, I assume you didn't make videos at first. What did you use YouTube for primarily if you weren't really big into anime?
well, I actually watched a lot of Call of Duty YouTubers, and I did
Oh,
Call of
yeah.
Duty videos.
Mm.
I was
So,
very bad at them.
had you seen a lot of anime, since then? I mean,
Yeah.
before then?
Well,
I know right
before
now you've
then.
seen like 300 shows. I checked your mail out.
Oh wow. Before then, probably I've probably seen Ghost in the Shell, Dragon Ball
Mhm.
Z, original Dragon Ball as well. Spriggan. There's a couple other things. Pokemon. Think
Mhm.
like kind of like all the popular stuff that was
Yeah.
popular back in the early 2000s that were on TV.
Mhm. So we're basically in a similar boat with this because I also joined YouTube. I primarily made SmackDown versus Raw videos,
Oh
just
heck
wrestling
yeah.
with my friends, and that was all my channel was about. And eventually, I started making videos about MMOs and stuff. And one thing led to another. I ended up reviewing anime, and it's really been a wild journey because it's been the viewers who would recommend me stuff to watch, and then I would go watch it, and now I'm over 800 anime, and it's
Damn.
it's crazy because I started and I've only seen 20, not even Dragon Ball Z or anything. I watched Dragon Ball Z and Naruto the first time in like 2010, 2009.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
yeah. Mostly people these days, I find, when they watch Dragon Ball, they they don't like it these days because it's a little outdated. I think these days for many
You talking
people.
about Z or the original?
Both actually, both. Like they'll watch Kai or the original, and they'll not like either of them just because
Well,
it's
yeah, it really the older you get, or actually the younger the audience is, there's gonna need to be some sort of icebreaker or gateway to get into older shows. Like for me, Vampire Hunter D, the original Dragon Ball. But for newer people who are coming up, like I was born in the '80s, but people who are born in the 2000s, they might need something like Death Note that helps them go back and watch '90s anime, and then they can enjoy shows like
yeah
Outlaw Star or Cowboy Bebop, and then they can go back to the '80s shows and whatnot. So you can't. I don't expect people to really go 30 years out of their comfort zone and
Yeah.
enjoy stuff.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
that's why, I think it's important that we do what we do is in order to give people that gateway because they're never probably not going to find it on their own because most people don't look for stuff like, I wonder what anime was popular before my dad was born.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I used to do an old series called OV Awful. Actually, I did it up until last year. I did it for about 2 years, where I would just watch a bunch of really random OVA. Some of them were just like, fan service episodes, and I usually just didn't like those, but some of them were great. Anime like I watched a couple, they have actually similar names, Cosmos Police Justy and Cosmos Pink Shock. They were
I haven't
just
seen those.
yeah, they're like OVAs from like the mid 80s, maybe early 80s. Like I think it's actually 1985 and 1986 is when these two came out.
You have to link
And
me the mouse to those later.
yeah, I mean they're actually just on YouTube. They're just sitting there. Like they're fan sub. They're pretty bad quality for
Yeah, I like to get the high quality version.
yeah, I
If
don't
you
even
catch my drift.
yeah, yeah. I don't even know if you can get that because I did some research on it and I know it came out on VHS in Japan
I could
and that's it.
we'll help each other out with this after the stream.
But yeah, well, the interesting thing about actually Cosmos Police Justy is it's an anime by Studio Pierrot or Pirate or however you say it,
Mhm.
and the sound effects they used in that OVA were the sound effects that Toei would go on to use for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, like
Mhm.
the sound effects that they would make famous. And I guess that was just in some database somewhere, and they just reused it later on, and it was just the same database they used 10 years prior with Police Justy. And
Mhm.
the manga is really hard to find as well. I can't even find the manga
Yeah, I
for it.
just found the anime. It's in standard definition, but it's probably better than YouTube quality.
Probably, yeah, especially
Uh,
these days with YouTube.
yeah.
um yeah. Actually, there's I talked about Spriggan earlier. That's one of my
Mhm.
like original anime, and like I actually still have like the original DVD of that. And I wonder
Can you
how
explain how you managed to get into Spriggan before you got into other, like, really popular because Spriggan, I have no idea how popular that was, and I imagine not very popular,
yeah,
and
it was basically just from my brother. Like he just
oh, that's
I
cool.
yeah, he this was maybe 15 years ago now, something like that, probably even
Mhm.
longer than that. And I just remember he had a collection of like a bunch of anime. Like he had like Gantz and Elfen Lied, and
Mhm.
one of them was Spriggan. And of course, I was too young to even watch Gantz, and let alone Elfen Lied. Jesus. Um, but I watched Spriggan, and I was just as a kid, I just thought it was the coolest looking thing ever.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's actually very popular, especially these days. But even back then, maybe it had its own little audience back then, but I'm not too sure. I even
Well,
have the
it was
original
popular enough
DVD.
to be dubbed, but I don't know who did it.
Yeah, that dub is weird.
It was an ADV, film, so ADV was pretty popular back then, so I'm pretty sure people found out about it through them. They did a lot of the best parts of watching these old anime DVDs is the trailers, so I'm sure they had a lot of
Yes.
trailers. That might have been how I found it actually through an ADV, DVD I have in the trailers.
Yeah, dude. I have like some ADV original volumes of like the of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and
Mhm.
there's like some weird Easter eggs on that. There's like
Are there?
this, yeah, like there's one of them. I think it's the second or third one that has just this weird like uh like clip of like this woman on it, and it's just she's like just in her bra and panties, just laying on a bed, and it's just like 3 seconds, and
Wow,
it's
that's
weird.
Fight Club stuff right there.
Yeah, yeah. It's really really strange. Like you have to go into like the special features and you have to like remain idle for a while or something like
Oh,
that, or put in some code on like your controller. Which I never understood why those DVD remotes had those buttons, but
Yeah.
for numbers and stuff. But now I guess I know why. It's to
Oh, yeah.
unlock the scantily clad Asian woman on the
Well, yeah, back
Evangelion.
in the day, they used to sneak stuff like that into everything. You remember, like, the hot coffee mod, and there's just so much stuff, but now, like, people can't get away with it because, people just break everything down on their computers.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like they have like that's how like one of the Easter eggs in Halo 3 was solved. I watched a video on this recently. It was for one of the skulls in the game, which is like this big secret thing for people that don't know. Like you get skulls and they unlock special effects. They're like a really big thing in Halo, and they like data mined it, and it was supposed to be like this really intricate Easter egg where you like where you basically analyze the main theme of Halo, and through that you were able to jump through 7 rings and basically play the Halo intro or like the first 7 notes of the Halo theme, and then it would unlock. Like it was this intricate thing, and it's just like the data miners just even back then in 2007, they just immediately ruined the whole thing. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that whole story, but that is yeah, it's crazy, really crazy. Um, you even talk about the hot coffee thing, which is really funny. I always find that hilarious how they had to what is it? They had to patch it out of the console version that was
Mhm.
inaccessible.
Yeah.
So they recalled the game for the consoles and PC. But on
Uh-huh.
PC, people just eventually modded it back in the game anyways.
Yeah.
Like that is
Well, I think it doesn't
complicated.
really matter so much what the user does with it as long as, the Rockstar, or whatever company, for various instance, as long as they're right in the eyes of the public, then that's all that really matters. I don't think they really care too much if people actually access the content.
Yeah.
They just don't wanna hear people complain about it. About
Yeah.
Spriggon, um,
Is the film actually out yet, or wait, is it a
I
TV
don't think it
series?
is, no, I haven't seen it. I got Netflix here, I'd look it up, but I don't think it's out, I would've seen it. I would've watched that already. And if it's out right now, I'm leaving this call and I'm gonna go watch it, so better hope it's not out.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it's out?
it
Okay.
is.
Yeah, it's well, is it letting me click on it? It's not letting me click on it. Oh, it's a remind oh, okay, so it's not
Oh,
actually out. I just have a reminder set for it, like, you can look at the title, but nothing's there. It has no release date.
oh, damn it.
So what are your expectations?
My expectations are a better adaptation of the story. I mean, that's my hope. I don't know like what their goal is. I really haven't actually read anything about it. Just really watched the trailers and the initial announcement.
Mhm,
But what I hope is that there's just a better, more like you can't really make like Spriggan's story not seem crazy, over the top, but I just hope it's a little bit more understandable than the
mhm.
original. Didn't the original
Well
Spriggan have that intro where like he throws the blade at the camera or whatever?
Well, that was about 15 minutes into the movie. I actually watched this recently with my, patrons because we watch movies together and stuff. So I shared it with them, and that was like 15 minutes into the movie. But the thing have you ever read the manga to Spriggan?
No, I have not.
The story, like from the very first chapter, is totally different.
Yeah, yeah, I've
It's
heard
it's
that.
really different. They took all sorts of liberties with it from what I can tell. I haven't read too far. It's only like 11 or 13 volumes, I think. I'm not that far in, but it just seems totally different. Like there's this ancient artifact that was actually the fire that God used to burn Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's very biblical, and the anime wasn't like that. Anime
It was like
was
Noah's Ark, right? Or something?
was it like that in the anime? I can't remember. I don't really pay too much attention to the story when I watch Spriggan, even though I've seen it like 4 times.
Yeah, I think it's like they find Noah's Ark and there's like this artifact device or whatever, uh,
Mhm,
and it like turns people crazy or something like,
mm,
and and then there's like a kid or something, and
mm,
and then there's his classmate that gets turned into the fat guy with the chain gun.
mhm,
It it's really weird.
mm. Yeah, I'm looking up the people who are actually working on the new version of it right now. And I feel like well, I mean beforehand, part of me wants to feel like it's Spriggan, the main reason people I don't know about you because you obviously have a different attachment to Spriggan than I do. For me, the animation's the star of the show, that's really the main reason to watch
Hmm.
it, but the story doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I always call it like the 1990s Akira, basically, because the animation is through the roof, but the story is kinda out there and doesn't really make any sense. And having read some of the manga, it really puts that into perspective. It's kind of just an advertisement for the manga. That it makes me feel like it's more Akira 1999 version than anything else because the Akira anime was nothing like the manga either. But I'm looking up some of the people who are working on this project right here, and the script writer has never been accredited for writing a script in any other anime that's ever come
Oh.
out. However, he has directed something. Although
Oh.
the anime that he has directed are Kisnavier, which scores 7.45 on Mal, also,
I have a couple
A
friends that really
Town Where
like
You
that.
Live OVA, 7.24, and also, Dragon Pilot. So he's directed those, completely directed. He's done, like, episode, storyboards and whatnot, which I don't really count that because it's not like having experience over a whole story. However, the director, I'm looking at him, and let me get back here. Actually, no. That
Well,
was that was actually the director I was looking at. So those
oh,
3
okay.
anime were the ones he directed. The scriptwriter and director are both named Hiroshi, so I got the accounts mixed up. So the scriptwriter so if he's actually done a fair amount of scripts, he's worked on Ajin, various episodes,
Oh,
season 1,
Ajin.
season 2, which, could be a good thing or bad thing. He didn't do the whole series, but he could have only done the good ones or only done the bad episodes because Ajin was kind of, unreliable in terms of its, story quality, I think. It was alright anime, but not every episode was doing it for me. Jujutsu Kaisen, Kakegurui, certain episodes, Kill la Kill, 1 episode. Kabaneri Iron Fortress, he did the entire script for that, so that is not giving me good signs right there.
Well,
Um
what is the issue with that anime? I've heard kind of people were iffy on that.
Oh, he did, Owari no Seraph, he worked on certain Attack on Titan episodes, so that really brings it, into perspective. It's probably not gonna be that bad, but the thing about, Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress is I'm trying to remember here.
I heard people said it was boring, and there was something about
Yeah,
zombies or something.
it's been years ago. Well, for me, a lot of people called it, in my circles, Attack on Titan with trains, and uh, in my area, we actually enjoyed it for what it was. We appreciated it for its animation because it looked beautiful, it had
Yeah.
awesome character designs, great fights in it. It was exciting. But the second half of the story, it's just another one of those anime that you watch for the action and the animation. So in that
Mm,
regard, I don't know to what extent I can give him a positive credit for having written the script for an anime like that, but
yeah.
it's on par for what I would expect from Spriggan. I don't expect Full Metal Alchemist tier or
Right,
Legend of Black
exactly.
Heroes tier staff on this, but my main concern about Spriggan is his animation, just as it was in the original, because I mean, CG anime is a really big hit or miss. There's some of it that looks really beautiful, like Gantz Zero. That's probably the most beautiful
Yes. Oh
CG
my
anime I've
god.
ever seen.
Yes, I'm glad you agree with me on that. I tell people all the time, Blur is an amazing studio, and they do not get enough credit for all the CGI they do.
I don't know too much about the studio. I just look at Gantz Zero and I was just blown away. And
So
also
good.
the Final Fantasy VII CG movie. There are great potential out there that have CG, but a lot of the times the main complaints about CG are usually its contrast with the animation because it
Yeah.
usually stands out, and also its frame rate because it really just doesn't look
Choppy.
good. It is very choppy,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense because I mean, if Final Fantasy VII could have fluid CG animation, Final Fantasy VIII, I know they were big budget, but all these years later, we shouldn't be making things as bad as they are. I know people got to get their start somewhere, but I would rather they not get their start all over a story that could be pretty good or an
Yeah.
anime that I like.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I mean,
Kinda like the whole Crunchyroll debacle in, what is it, X-Arm? Is like their first
uh,
project, it's great, but I don't think people who support Crunchyroll are really interested in doing a crowdfunding project for people who've never had experience.
yeah, no, that X arm looks like you put out a review of Erta, which I never
Mhm,
heard of before, and is an amazing that whole every clip you showed in that was, especially the voice acting, was incredible. But you showed a clip
mhm.
of X arm. That's the first time I'd ever saw X arm. I knew
Uh,
I knew it was a manga before. I was actually gonna read it, but I never
mm,
I never did after I heard it
and you could
was
probably read it
okay.
before the anime comes out and, kinda ruins it. And then you could be that dude who's like, "I liked this before they messed it up.
Yeah, I
I've got
could.
entitlement butthurt rights."
Could make a video. The whole thing is ruined. Read the manga. It's much better. It's like
Yeah, you could do
Tokyo
that.
Ghoul.
Yeah.
They
I
rushed
think
everything.
you see, there's a trick to being outraged about things. You gotta find the things that are acceptable to be outraged about, but not overdone.
Yeah.
Like, when people complain about a bad dub, like, nobody really I mean, people are upset about it, but nobody really cares to watch that in a video in terms of like, "Oh, they dubbed an anime bad," unless it's, like, comically bad, because
Yeah.
it's just been done to death.
Yeah, definitely. There definitely is. Like you can't like I remember recently I made a video talking about Crunchyroll's adaptation of webtoon anime, and
Mm.
like it got like 60% dislikes, like,
Oh, really?
and I was like, "What? I didn't really say anything bad." uh
Yeah. But at the same time, though, I mean, the people who dislike that, if you as long as you're just being honest and not too over the top with it, then it's fine because the people who dislike it, if you're being honest and those people probably aren't right for the channel anyways, and them
yeah.
disliking it actually helps you in the algorithm, and on top of that, it just helps your video to be seen with more people who agree with you, and then they'll come and hang out and stick around for a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, you know what? This reminds me of something. Like I call this like the shonen effect, where you watch like an anime and you watch like the first couple episodes or whatever, and you talk about it with people, and maybe you make a video on it, and you get the replies that are just like, "Hey, man." The first two episodes, the first four episodes, or whatever, like those are just filler. Like the real story begins at this part, and it's even worse in like manga. I find where people are like, "Yeah, no, just re- chapter 45 is really where it gets going." And
Mm,
if you don't like it at chapter 45, it's like, oh wait, but like chapter 84.3, the
mm,
extra chapter, you got to read that, and it makes everything make sense, and it will be actually good.
yeah.
Do you get those?
I've got stuff like that a lot, but what I find that helps with me is just I don't mind to spoil myself to certain things. Like I don't like spoilers, but at the same time, like One Piece, for example, I wasn't planning on watching One Piece. When I first started off watching YouTube or making YouTube videos, I was kind of a hipster about things. Dragon Ball, Naruto. Get out of here.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent, but no, I actually did enjoy Naruto. But what won me over in those regards was just spoiling myself to something. Like for Naruto, I people are like, man, it gets good at such and such part, so I just watch something from that part. Worst case scenario, I'm spoiled to something I'm not interested in. Best case scenario, I'm like, wow, okay, this is pretty good, and then I've got incentive to sit through it. Or with One Piece, I watched the fight between, Rob Lucci and Luffy. I'm still not caught up to that part in the series though, so
What episode are you on?
I have no idea. I haven't watched it in years because I like shorter experiences. I like the beginning and I like the end. It's kinda like with games too, I like to
Yeah.
play, games that I can finish and have an experience with instead of like MMOs and stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It
That
just
is
goes on forever.
right. I mean, that is the thing with these days. A lot of games, like just games are so long, or like they're like, they're Call of Duty kind of games where you just play thousands and thousands of
Well, if that's
matches
what
of Call of
people
Duty.
want, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it
No, there
because
is nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I agree.
people into that, but for me personally, that's just not my thing. Yeah, I used to play a lot of MMOs and, it's definitely time consuming, a lot of COD and stuff, and it really, like, puts you in a different frame of mind, I think.
It really does. It really
Yeah.
does. Yeah, I I guess I'm a fan of COD. I like to play COD.
Yeah.
The good ones, like Modern Warfare, I thought was pretty good. But yeah, that's just something I noticed. But reeling it back in towards Erda, your
Mm.
review was I just found that hilarious. But as well, just like how does someone even like begin to even like make an anime like Erda? you know?
Well, it was like I said in the video, it's just one person working on it.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's some guy, maybe he had funding, maybe he didn't, and he was just animating stuff. And what strikes me as being so special about Erda, the story is really cheesy and it's funny. So, in that regard, it's redeemed in my eyes, but it's not exactly good by any stretch of the imagination. But it
I don't
is
know, man.
it is the project of one person. And for that, I see a lot of passion there. It's not technically bad in terms of the CG animation. You gotta consider this came out in, like, 2006, so I think it looks pretty good, and what's most important there is that it's self-aware, and it's absurd just for, the sake of being absurd. It's
yeah.
it's fun, and I got the feeling like the person who created it was having fun too. One anime from the same director that I was really wanted to cover, but I kinda just mentally moved on to other things was Cat Blue Dynamite, which is also by the same guy. I mentioned that at the end of the video.
You did.
That even has more of the guy's personality in it. It's got a lot of jazz influences there. It's funny. It's dubbed in English.
Oh,
The
dude, the
dub is
dub was
actually
great.
better. It's just great, and I would honestly recommend that even more than Erda. But I didn't watch that until I was already like
Yeah.
75% of the way through the script of Erda. So
yeah, no, I think anime like this are amazing.
yeah.
Like I love these kinds of anime. Like, you know, you earlier was talking about Cosmos Police Justy and Cosmos Pink Shock. Those anime have like it's different. It's something unique and special you just really don't get a lot of these days.
Mhm.
So and like when's the last time you heard of a guy making a series like Erda, where it's just one person doing all the CGI, and the story is about a genetically what was it? A genetically cloned person, or and then the person
Basically
they
something
were
avant-garde.
yeah, and then that one girl was like both of them,
Mm.
and
Yeah, yeah, it was both of them, depending on which time, period she came from. So, in the time period in the beginning of the anime, she had already went through both time periods and came back. So, basically, the 2 women were fighting over which person the girl would become without even realizing it.
yeah, dude, that's when you were explaining that, I was confused. Like I had to rewatch that part of the video because I was like, "What is going on?" like, also the whole thing with her using two bazookas. That is just,
It's just fun,
yeah,
but
yeah,
There's actually a lot of people working on stuff like this because the way I see it is I don't see it as something that's comparable to like other anime movies or other anime OVAs because it's just a one person project. And yeah, this one person did hire other people to do things like the voice acting, to make the music and all this other stuff, but they still is one person animated, one person made the story to it. So I just see it as kind of like a Kickstarter thing. That's why I said at the end of the video that I really hope that the guy continues doing his work, and it's the perfect opportunity for that sort of thing now with Kickstarter, because there's all sorts of independent animation and video games. Like I get people, I used to get people all the time asking me to just share the Kickstarter stuff. I'd look at it, I don't like to share that stuff because who knows if it's ever going to be completed,
yeah,
but yeah, I just look at it and there's a lot of really talented people out there, and this is like the perfect time for that. So,
yeah, dude,
just have fun and do the things you want to do. And if you can contact the right people, then no matter what you want to do, it's possible that somebody out there thinks it's like mutually beneficial for you to achieve your dream or just do the things you want to do to some
definitely.
extent. But
So what would you say is like one of your just favorite, just guilty pleasure anime? Because
oh, easy, Legend of the Overfiend.
Legend of the Overfiend, what is that? That sounds
It's a
amazing.
hentai about a guy who murders his parents and cuts his dick off, and actually, no, he's not the main character, but he puts a demon dick on his dick that he just cut
What?
off, And then the main character is actually a guy who's a chronic masturbator who they believe has the demon dick. And
The
the demon
demon
dick is
dick.
gonna cause the rebirth of the Overfiend, and the Overfiend is gonna destroy the world and make it new. So everybody, the demons on one side are believing that he's gonna be the person who's gonna destroy the world, and there's people on the other side who believe that he's gonna be the person to save the world. So either way, he's got tremendous dick powers, and
He's got
the dubbing is amazing, and I've probably already gotten you demonetized anyway, so I'm sorry about that. You feel free to censor me if you want,
no,
but
it's
it's
fine.
basically, you ever watch any of those like late 1980s, early 90s trashy like horror films that came out here in the States that are just filled with sex and gore and
Yeah,
stuff like that?
yeah.
It's basically that, but because of the sex content and the nudity and everything, they have it labeled as a hentai, but it's basically just that. And I feel like as an anime, it's much more tasteful. Um, it is really a complicated thing with movies. Like certain movies, like John Carpenter movies, The Thing or whatnot, it's grotesque and it's over the top, but it's done in a way that's not like really disgusting. But some movies can take it over the top. So it's anime. It's not too bad, but then again, it's also not as grotesque as something like shit. I can't think of the name of it. There was a school anime that was really like
Oh my god.
gory and stuff. I can't think of, but
It's Higurashi or something?
no, it was way worse than that.
Oh.
It was like a 3-episode OVA.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think I know that one then.
Yeah, it was like guts pouring out and stuff. I don't like to see all that stuff, but Overfiend was just that right level for me, where everything was the animation was awesome because they did a great job with the monster designs, um, the character designs, the backgrounds, the voice acting, the music, everything just came together for a fun experience with Legend of the Overfiend. So, what is one of your favorite guilty pleasures in
Cy-
anime?
Cyber City 080808.
Oh yeah, that's got some beautiful animation. That's Madhouse, right?
Yeah, it's Madhouse. I love the opening for it. The opening is
Yeah.
just, dude, it is just like you listen to that and you're like, oh, I'm pumped.
Uh,
Yeah, I did a video with it with Otaku Mike. If you guys are interested, links will be in the description. But it, I love that OVA. The whole cyberpunk aesthetic, the
mm,
whole like it's just crazy. Like the story is just crazy and it's entertaining. It's badass at certain moments. It's really got it all. It really does. Um,
yeah, it's pretty cool. Got great animation.
Yeah. Well, other than that, the couple other OVAs that I mentioned, but really, another one, and they're all older anime, like all of my guilty pleasure stuff, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it, because you
Yeah,
just
well,
like
I
what
don't
you
feel
like,
guilty about
but
it in the Overfiend, but it's just a term. That's what it means. Like
yeah,
when you enjoy something that's not considered to be good.
but
Uh,
Project Akko is
oh yeah,
is amazing. I
I've never seen that,
it's
but I know what it
on
is.
it's on Retro Crush. Do you know what Retro Crush
Mm.
is?
No, I have no idea.
It is, oh my god, I'm gonna blow your mind. So it is literally a free streaming site that streams old anime
Uh,
100% free. So they have all of Project Akko on it. They have like Princess and the Pilot, some newer stuff like that,
that's
uh,
cool.
other stuff like Pop Team Epic. uh, they may even have like Mad Bull or something like that. They even got
Nice.
Otaku no Video on there.
Mm,
Tons of stuff, and they had Project Akko on it, and I didn't know about it until this year because I was looking into Retro Crush, and I saw that they recently added it. And
mm.
Project Akko is amazing. I want to do a video on it because it has so many elements that studios like what is the studio that worked on Evangelion? I cannot remember, but the studio that worked on Evangelion and Trigger,
Mm.
um, like all of the things that you see in those anime are in Project Akko, and it came out in
Mm.
like the mid '80s as well, maybe late '80s. Just
Wasn't
amazing.
that Gynax?
Yeah, Gynax, the one. There's this one scene where Akko is literally they're shooting missiles at like this big spaceship or whatever
Mm.
because like aliens invade or something. It's been a while since I watched it, and she's riding and jumping across each of the missiles.
Oh, that's cool.
It's amazing. There's it's just great. The animation is tremendous for the time. It's even still pretty good to this day, in my opinion. So
Well,
good.
yeah, that stuff holds up very well, especially if they have proper remasters. Like if you can find the Japanese Blu-rays or something online, um, it looks outstanding. That's the best art style for anime, in my opinion, when they remaster the old stuff.
Yeah,
Hand painted drawings.
yeah, yeah. Um, you know, I hate to bring it up because it's it's kind of the circle jerked anime, and it's kind of cliche to bring it up, but Legend of the Galactic Heroes is the same way.
How is that a circle jerk anime?
Well, don't I, everybody's like, oh my god, Legend of the Galactic Heroes
Oh, it's
is
popular now.
I guess so, like
Uh,
because I know when the new one came out, that's when I started to get into it. So I went back and
mm.
watched some of the old stuff, and the whole audience around that is like, this is the greatest anime of all time.
Well,
And
it is, but
well, I tend to be on. I haven't finished it, so I can't really say for sure.
how
But
far are you?
episode 24 of the original.
Oh yeah, you got a ways to go.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I can't speak on that, but um, I just it's something that I think I've seen around a lot, and so I try
Yeah,
to be cautious when discussing
yeah.
Legend Galactic Heroes because I don't know how it's like the whole Dragon Ball Z thing for me. Like if I bring it up, people are going to be like, "Oh, here he goes talking about Legend Galactic Heroes again."
That's interesting that you say that because I don't watch any anime things on YouTube. Unless it's like somebody in my Discord or something that they're in the Discord and they made the video and they're part of my community.
Hmm.
I'll check that out. But I don't watch like really any other anime stuff. So I have no idea what's popular right now. So I'm happy to hear that Legend of Galactic Heroes is at least popular because I remember when I made the video on it, like only not too many people had seen it.
Yeah, I did like weekly videos on the remake that came out.
Yeah, I was doing that too, but I had reviewed it. I don't remember. It was like probably a couple years before that too,
Yeah.
but it was just it's not for everyone, but I
It's
always consider it to be like anime endgame, but it's really text dense. But it's also one of the biggest tragedies in anime as well, because if Legend of the Galactic Heroes were dubbed around the time that it
yeah.
came out, it would have came out in the States, it would have caught the Star Trek, Star Wars crowd, and it could have been
Yep.
one of the most popular anime, but it didn't have a dub. I think it's got a dub for the first few episodes or something, but then they quit, kind of like Fist of the North Star. But there's and it was also really terrible quality. But it's a shame because we had Akira coming out over here, and that led the way for Dragon Ball Z and stuff. So people's understanding of anime and standards are totally different. But if Legend of Galactic Heroes would have been dubbed and come out, that would have changed everything. And still, I think we might be getting a dub of Legend of Galactic Heroes, but
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
something that we desperately need because it is so dense.
I
There's one
yes.
episode in Legend of Galactic Heroes where the entire episode is like a History Channel episode where it's like one character watching a TV, and the TV is going back and showing the history of everything.
Man.
So it's like really text dense.
Yeah, yeah. They're I know Netflix maybe it's redubbing Saint Seiya the original,
Yeah, they
and
finished that already.
they did?
Yeah,
Awesome. I may have to go back and and watch
I
it.
was yeah, I was watching it. I never got to finish the last arc of that, but I feel like the last arc's kind of boring. There's a reason. I mean, the main reason was probably that who was it that was working on that? AD was it ADV? It was some company. They went under while they were dubbing it, but at the same time, the last arc is not very good. The powers and everything were creative in the first like three quarters, and the fights were creative, but the last is just like people throwing generic fireballs at each other and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I got into Saint Seiya with the Lost Canvas. I
Mm.
watched the first part of season 1. I did a video on it, and I liked it. I just I felt like I needed to watch the original or I was missing something because I just was by the end of it. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was really great, but I
Yeah.
was like, maybe I'm just not in the mood for it or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I hope they give the same treatment they gave to Saint Seiya with a dub, and I think they did it with
Yeah.
Sailor Moon as well to Legend of the Galactic Heroes eventually. Uh, I
Yeah, they probably I think they already have. But the thing about Saint Seiya is that it is the epitome of shonen anime, for good or bad. Like everything
yes.
good and bad you would expect to find out of a shonen anime, you'll find there. The Nakama power-ups, the
Hmm.
people that you think are dead coming back to life, the random powers coming out of nowhere, the fights are fun. It's got like it's just a fun anime, but it's essentially it's crazy because it's like the average 2000s shonen anime, but it came out in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean that is the thing. When I was watching the Lost Canvas, they had some of that stuff as well because I think Lost Canvas is a prequel, and
Mm.
they had the whole yelling your power ups and attacks and right,
Yeah, that's
like so
Mhm.
great. It's like it comes out of a different era, but
It's cliche, but if you enjoy it for being cliche, then it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like a subjective thing.
well, I know like it also took off in South America because I
Oh, it was huge there, and
yeah
also, like,
it,
Mexico, it's huge in Mexico, but we just never got it here.
yeah, it just never hit with America for some reason, and I wonder how Dragon Ball Z would be seen in America if Saint Seiya hit in America before uh and anime to come after that because Dragon Ball Z is massive.
Yeah, people would probably like Saint Seiya more, I think, because it's strange to me, like, looking at Dragon Ball Z and understanding the things that people like about it, I feel like it's a total nostalgia thing. I mean, there are good things about the series, but it's really hard to enjoy the anime considering how long it takes for them to do anything. And I
Yeah,
know people try and refute my criticism of Z with Dragon Ball Kai, but if you're talking about Kai, I'm talking about Z. We're technically talking about two different anime entries here.
right,
But
exactly.
the
Almost
thing
two
about
completely
Dragon Ball
different
Z
anime.
is well, the thing about Dragon Ball Z is that people are missing the context of the original Dragon Ball. It's supposed to be like an adventure comedy series, and I get it. Shows are gonna evolve as they go on. It's kind of hard to have that same exact feel go on for hundreds of episodes, but it's really, my first time watching Dragon Ball Z, I didn't know anything about the original Dragon Ball, so I was there. The first arc, the Saiyan Saga.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saiyan Saga, that was pretty cool to me. I thought it was nice, and then there was the Frieza arc, I like that, but everything else after that was just I feel like it didn't need to exist. So I'm watching this series, everybody's like, "Man, the stakes are high, planets are destroying and stuff like that." And but then you got somebody who's turning people into chocolate and eating them. I was missing the context that it's supposed to be a comedy anime because there's like so much focus on death. And I just feel like it overstayed its welcome, and there are many times it should have ended, honestly. Like at the end of the first Piccolo arc, after the
Yes.
World Martial Art Tournament at the end of
Yeah.
the original Dragon Ball, could have ended there. It could have ended after the Saiyan Saga. Definitely could have ended at the Frieza arc, but
People say
it's
all the
just at this
time,
point, it's like it's just a perpetual money machine, and people
right?
just it, you can't really take it seriously enough to criticize it in the way that I do because it's not meant for me.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's when you say it's like you see it as something's more meant for nostalgia. It absolutely is. I mean, it's the Mario of anime in many ways, or the Master
Mhm.
Chief or whatever. It's all just nostalgia at this point. Like
Yeah.
the glory days, have kind of receded and gone, and the people that remember that will remember that, and the people that don't probably don't understand. It's also kind of like the Beatles in many ways. I see many people hate on the Beatles these days for the same reasons. uh
Yeah.
But
It's strange, people love one thing, and then the same people 5 years later hate it like they didn't love it. Like
yeah,
people do with Code Geass and,
people
Sword
hate
Art
Code
Online.
Geass.
People hate Code Geass now.
Wow, I love Code
Yeah.
Geass.
Yeah, I love it too. It's nice. It's not perfect. It's got, like, bad episodes to it. I'm not a fan of the first half of the 2nd season, but it's a good anime, and people are hating on it. Everybody was raving about Sword Art Online when that came out, and then they turn out to hate it. But the thing about, things that continue on forever, um, you ever watch wrestling?
Yeah. Oh, I love wrestling. I'm a massive fan of wrestling.
Oh, do you currently watch wrestling?
I just recently started it again. I watch AEW.
Oh, okay, so you're watching well, I'm not educated enough on modern wrestling to say the good stuff, but just for the sake of conversations, we'll say the good stuff,
It
right?
is it is the good stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
So WWE kind of has always chased the same audience, the same way that Dragon Ball has always chased the same audience. It doesn't necessarily make it bad, but it kind of means that you're just no longer its target audience. Like for example, with remember the first Attitude Era when it first came out, and then you had Degeneration X and everything? That was cool. It was
Yeah.
edgy, and it was intended to be for like teenagers of its time. It's kind of selling it to adults, but like the anime titties and blood and stuff. We all know that that's really targeting people who are like 13, 15 years old. So that's who it's targeting. But as time goes on, you get older, and these shows that are continuously going on, they continuously target that same audience, but you've grown out of it.
Mhm.
Like, remember, there was times in wrestling where they brought back DX, and it was so cringeworthy. You had this like 50-some-year-old man there telling people to suck it and doing all these like jokes and stuff, and it felt like they didn't understand what kids liked, but it also just felt, like, really out of touch, and it just made me feel like this definitely is made for me, and the same thing goes for Dragon Ball as well. When I look at Super and things like that, I'm sure it's good. It's got enjoyable qualities to it for the type of person that it's aiming for, but for me, it's really difficult to get into something like that, and that also gets into something that I like to call, phantom nostalgia as well. Like, say, for example, we can enjoy Dragon Ball original, Dragon Ball Z, Saint Seiya, Fist of the North Star, all these like Hakusho stuff from the late 80s and 90s. For me, that's my time period, and I watched a lot of things like that. A lot of TV shows that I watched when I was a kid were actually animated by Japanese animation studios, like certain parts of X-Men, for
Mhm.
example. But
Yeah.
there's this thing that I call phantom nostalgia, where you can actually go back and watch something from the same period as other things that you're accustomed to, and you feel nostalgic for it, although you've never seen it. It's kinda like you play a PS1 game you've never played before. You feel nostalgic, but it's your first time playing it. So, I feel like, um, looking back at that, it's still targeting a part of me, even though it's something that's older, and there's still a part of me that wants to go and watch something like that, because I feel like it gets me and I get it, and it's just like a perfect match.
Yeah. No, you mentioned the whole fandom nostalgia thing. That's the way I feel about Project Akko. Maybe it's
Mm,
because, I have all the context of the things I compared it to with Trigger and Evangelion and Gynex and stuff, but
yeah.
uh yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's like a really fascinating kind of phenomenon that happens where you just I don't know. You just feel like you've like it's just like it just clicks. And
Yeah.
you got that nostalgia for it, but it's yeah. You just
Well,
never
it's not only that, but there's a comfort that I find that is associated with absolutely knowing what you want. Because for a time, if you're only chasing the new stuff, then you know what you like, but at the same time, you don't know the quality of the things that are coming out. You basically have to go through and you have to watch everything and then decide if it's going to be remembered by history. But for me, um, I am comfortable, like, for the rest of my life, I could never watch an anime that came out after 2010, and I would have so much. I would never finish all of the everything above 7 out of 10. Never in my life would I
yeah.
finish it. Same for video games. Like, if I wanna play PS1 and PS2 games, if I wanna play all the games that are 7 out of 10 and up, I'll never live long enough to finish it all. So, I get the feeling like we're kind of inundated with entertainment, especially nowadays because it just pumped out like crazy. You get years, like 2 to 3 years worth of new anime that comes out each, if we're talking 1980s, in the 1980s, there was only maybe like in the early 80s, there might have been 5 or 6 shows that were running per season, and many of them were, maybe like 4 of them were holdovers from the previous season that were continuing. But now you get years of that's coming out each and every season.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to get inundated, and it's kind of confusing. I kind of have a problem where I jump from one thing to another, and it's hard for me to stick on something. So I feel like it's good to just focus and like I was saying earlier about Doom, it's something that I enjoyed. It was gifted to me. I never really planned on playing it unless it was like $10 or something. But I just I can take it or leave it. This old stuff, I love it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like the whole like, I mean, it's when you say like we're just being pumped full of entertainment and it's just inundated
Mm.
everywhere. It's 100% true. You even have, I mean, how many anime streaming services are there? There's like 4 or 5, right? There's
Well, that's completely different issue there. The streaming services are just it doesn't actually provide a service for us. It just makes a service that already exists much safer for us.
Mhm.
Now, Netflix with dubbing and they actually fund some of the anime, that's one thing. And Funimation in terms of dubbing. But the way I see it coming out in Japan, all of the anime is coming out in Japan. That is where everything comes from in terms of anime. That's
Yeah.
where it all comes from. And then over here, everything just gets licensed. But to be fair, I think most people probably are even more inundated than you would imagine if they only watch the streaming services because there's a lot of people out there that use various illegal streaming sites and they've got everything, you know, just everything.
Yeah.
And they just I don't really like to use them because there's so many ads and stuff, but it's an insane amount of anime that nobody will ever finish everything they ever wanna watch. So I just feel like just watch the stuff you've been interested in, like Attack on Titan is in its final season right now. I've been wondering about that for, like, 8 years, what's gonna happen at Attack on Titan, but I've been wondering what happens at the end of, not Hajime no Ippo, but, Ashito no Joe for even longer than that, so I'm gonna have more fun watching that whenever I get back around to that.
Yeah. I agree. Well, I find that it's just there is there's also like a certain kind of, I don't know what it is. There's a certain of excitement of wanting to watch every like try to get to everything. Like there's some sort of just unreachable mountain that you want to climb, at least for me. And I could just
Yeah,
I'll never get to the top of that mountain. I'll get, probably like realistically like a fraction of the way there, but like I want to be inundated to a certain extent as much as humanly possible, and as long as not hurting myself or anything. But
yeah, it's impossible.
it's yeah, like I want to talk about every anime possible. I want to talk about the old stuff, I want to talk about the new stuff, and I want to watch it all. I want to experience it all the good stuff, that is. The bad stuff, it depends on what mood I'm in, but like
Yeah, totally. Your enjoyment of an anime is only gonna be as good as your emotion coming into it.
right. That is another thing that I have noticed. It's all about, moods and what you're expecting from it. Because actually expectations are a really big important thing for me. Whereas if
Mhm.
if I'm coming in and somebody's saying this is the greatest thing ever, it's not gonna look good. Like
Yeah, that's too objective, you really gotta make it subjective. That's one thing I learned, in videos because people will really pick apart your words about things, so never talk in absolutes, never what is it? The Sith talk in absolutes. Don't be a Sith.
yeah. Oh
Don't
Lord.
be a Sith lord of the anime community.
Oh
But then
yeah.
again, if you're loving everything, then that's basically the same thing too.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, with my videos, like I do it, I still do it where I'm like, this is a masterpiece in the title, but I usually try to
That's
in the.
clickbait's fair game at this point,
It
it's
is, it
really hard to do
is,
anything without a little bit of clickbait, and that's why I don't even try anymore.
but I always try to tackle it from the perspective of like in the video itself. Like you click on it, you're like, it's a masterpiece. What? Yeah, whatever. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And in the video itself, it's much more well reasoned. I'm like, to me personally, this is like my, this is something I was really invested in. It's, it's my personal masterpiece. It's up to
Mhm.
you to decide what that is for you and if this is for you. And most importantly, for like the general kind of, we got to wait years to figure out what, how, what its inspiration is, how it affected things later on
Yeah.
so we can't really decide now, but we can make emotional statements like that and just try to
Yeah, it's
explain it as
fine, it's
best
just
as
about
possible.
expressing yourself.
Yeah,
I feel like people take things a little bit too seriously when it comes to this, and it all is just people in their own homes, in their underwear, talking about the cartoons they like. It doesn't need to be so serious.
well, I'm in cargo shorts, so.
I'm just hypothetically speaking, it's just a joke, but, I'm wearing sweatpants, but, it's a lot of people tend to take it too seriously, and if that's their prerogative, that's fine,
Yeah.
but, one thing I noticed that there were several different, stages that I've seen in the anime community that this went through, and I can't really, just shake my finger at it because I kinda, to some degree, helped contribute to it, but basically, you'll have, anime is created for the consumers, and in the middle, you've got people who review it, and they're not trying to watch it the way a consumer would
Yeah,
watch it,
I know
which is very
exactly
emotional.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, consumers get off of work and they bust their ass all day long, and then, they're just working hard in college, and they come home and want to enjoy an anime. But then you have a critic who's seen like 1,000 shows
Hmm.
or 800 like I have, and then they just pick the show apart. But that's not really, nothing is perfect, but it doesn't really do you any good to point out like flaws to a certain extent. Like certain things, like the story is bad because of this reason here. There's a massive plot hole, and I felt like I wasted my time watching. Yeah, there are valid criticisms, but some people would go too little bit too far, either way in praise or in criticizing it. But, if that's their prerogative, that's fine. But the impact that it's had on the community is that people who have no invested time or no monetary gain from being that critical of anime in the comments section are being critical of anime. And I feel like it's ruining people's experiences to some extent because there's absolutely no reason for somebody who doesn't make reviews and doesn't do YouTube videos to be as critical as they are in the comments sometimes.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it kind of like catches on because certain people in the community are kind of role models. It kind of goes both ways in terms of being hypercritical, but also like the whole weeb culture that's going on right now. It's all perpetuated by people who have a monetary, uh, they're getting a monetary benefit out of doing it, and then people kinda, like, are influenced by that when they
yeah,
don't need to be.
yeah. I
Just enjoy it.
Right, right. Yeah, I think there's like I tell people I've had this conversation a handful of times, not very much recently, but I remember a while ago I had this conversation plenty of times where I had to tell people like the way I view things is very different from what you may view it. So when I say something is this or that, I have the experience of watching 330 something anime or 40 something whatever it is, and I make videos. So when I am making a video and I'm telling you that the animation for this is like tremendous, it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen this year. I'm watching that from the perspective of I've already seen like 45 anime this year.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
like I can't like I could, like you say, get out there and bust my ass and only work all the time and watch 3 anime a year and then do
Yeah.
reviews. But there's no really benefit for me to do that, to go that far.
Mhm.
I think it's really just for me, you know, like
Yeah.
just do it. Like I like putting out reviews and videos and talking about these aspects that nobody else will notice, or maybe they did and they're excited about that. And but really it's just about me expressing myself and having fun with the thing that I enjoy, which is my passion, which is anime and making YouTube videos. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's really fun to do that, I think, just to have the opportunity to do both. Because a lot of people, they don't know, they don't have the time to talk about it, and, editing videos is kind of a learning curve.
yeah. It's also, I've done it for almost 10 years at this point, and I've been telling all my viewers like I cannot wait until I get enough money from this, you know, monthly to actually pay an editor to edit this because I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm done. Like I don't want
Yeah,
to
I
edit
hate
anymore.
editing videos, I'll be honest with you, that's, like, the worst part, but sometimes it's just, like, it's not so bad sometimes because you get your key binding set up and everything, it's not so bad. The problem is when you upload something and then YouTube takes it down for copyright, and then
Oh,
you're just like, "Oh, I gotta
dude.
re-edit this shit."
Dude, my channel last year in the beginning of 2019 got terminated 2 times within a span of 30 days. And I
Why?
was so I used to do manga reviews.
Mm.
I got claimed for that. I got claimed from a
How do you
damn
get claimed for a
perspective.
manga review?
Well, okay, so what they do is if you show, you're fine showing panels
Mm.
as long as they're slightly altered, you know, make sure it's, you know, fair use and all that. So can't just like
But
I just had them scrolling the
oh, like, people
dialogue.
could read the entire thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's usually it was just chapter 1. I was very stupid back then
Yeah, you
when I
should
did
read
these.
up on the copyright, on the DMCA. That clears some things up, but
Yeah, definitely. That is a good tip for anybody watching this wanting to get in YouTube or are in YouTube and just don't look into that stuff, because with the manga stuff, if I just like, you know, used them when I was, you know, talking about a certain subject as like an example, like that actual panel, and
mm.
removed all the dialogue, would have been totally fine. Like
So, I it makes a difference if you remove the dialogue or not, if you're just
it
showing, like, one
does.
panel?
It does.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I can understand if the whole point when you read the DMC, it says that if you're okay, so, what do they call it when you're being, creative with something? It's your fair use and you're being constructive or you're being transformative, that's what it's called. So, the whole point to allowing criticism and allowing construction transformation of a project is that it's not infringing on the creator's ability to profit from the intended experience. Like, say, for example, if I were to take pictures and of a movie and go through every single little scene of it, maybe they could argue that, even though it's not video, that like I'm infringing on its rights because people see the video and then they don't have to see the movie anymore, or people watch a let's play or something. Because there was a big controversy about that, like with Nintendo and Long Dark and a lot of other games a while back, where people would be let's playing them, and the companies felt like, hey, this is an advertisement, this is infringement, and we want to take you down. And is that? But you should be able to use it with text in it. That's ridiculous.
it is. It is. That I know this because there was an article put out where they were going after people from on Japan, you know, Japan side. American
Mm.
side's not really doing much about this because they
Oh yeah,
understand.
they
I
love to
think,
bust people for shit over there and
yeah,
copyright.
yeah, like they were going after people that were uploading manga panels to YouTube in the form of videos.
Yeah.
And so they said that anything that has spoilers for dialogue, even if it's just a sentence, they will go after you if they, you know, if they
Oh,
find
that
out.
is ridiculous.
So they probably have people combing the internet. And the thing is what I do now is I put like an orange border around my videos. I have like this VHS overlay effect that I use, and
Yeah, I've seen some of them. Yeah,
I put grain over it and all that, and I tilt it
that is a
sideways
lot
and
of work for
reverse it.
editing.
It is, dude. And my computer is an Alienware from 2010, and the
Yeah,
memory is slow as fuck. and the CPU
Well,
is slow.
you
So,
there are ways around that.
well, yeah, there's like
I saw, one of my old contacts, Double Four Anime, would what he used to get in a ton of trouble for using that sort of thing in his videos. But what he would do is he would record his face, and then a manga is black and white. You would just remove the white, and then it would just be the black, and then you could have that overlaid over top of you and kind of blur you out a little bit, and
oh,
that'll be enough to trick it. So I don't know if that'll be helpful for you or not in terms of manga,
yeah, I don't
but I
do
see
manga
like you
anymore.
mostly just do clips and stuff. It's easier not getting in front of camera and lighting and whatnot. But another really helpful tip that I probably shouldn't even be giving, but I don't really care, is whenever you're doing anime clips, don't use any clips that are longer than 6 seconds.
Oh, I think everybody knows that.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a generally well-known thing. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. I learned that years ago and maybe a couple years ago. But I don't really know what people know because I'm not really, I'm like the outsider.
you're the you're the lone wolf.
Because I've had clips that were like 10 seconds and it was 10 seconds long. It was slowed down to like 75% or sped up to 125%. It was reversed, like mirrored. It was waving like a flag, and it was in the center of the screen with text over it. That's the extent that I
Oh
wanted
my
to.
god.
They still took my damn video down for that moment.
Sony is the worst about this. I remember back in the day, I watched your video about handshakers, and you just had that GIF of the
Oh, the
chains,
titties bouncing.
and you made like a room out of it behind you.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and
It's
yeah.
just like, "I suffered, now it's your turn." But, I mean, hey, it's like it's kinda like, it's not that bad because yeah, it's suffering 'cause bad is not a good show, but at least it's the best part, which is like
Yeah. Well, they
we all
came
know.
out with a sequel for it. Did you know that?
No.
It's called Wiz. It's W apostrophe Z. It's a sequel. And my friend is like a really big fan of handshakers, and he watched it and he loved it.
Seriously, I see this now.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What, do people gotta hold hands too? It's got a 5.6 on Mal. The thing that really got me about like, I couldn't even view it for its story because I'm not a person that gets motion sickness, but it's like they had different people animate it and they didn't choreograph with each other. So you had the camera would zoom around in the room and then the window would be open and the background, it's supposed to some degree, like a traditionally hand painted cell anime would have parallaxing where it's like clear cell on top of clear cell, but this was just like a CG room with a camera floating around it, and you're seeing that room from another CG room with a camera floating around. It's from different angles, and the character, because the backgrounds, I think they're heavily CG, and then out the window was CG as well. Probably a different person made that, and then the character was animated on the computer, but they probably did that in another 3D render where they had a three-dimensional camera rotate around that. So it's like this really weird, it takes me back to the days of playing, games where your protagonist would be a sprite, and it was just like you would move
Yeah.
and the camera wouldn't move right, because it's
Yeah.
obviously like a two-dimensional object.
Yeah, so like on a PS1 when sprites and 3D were being integrated as
Yeah.
well, you had the shimmering of the PS1 with the backgrounds and stuff. Like the Tomb Raider games was it kind of had that effect, you know?
Well, I
It
mean,
was
like,
less severe, but
MDK or some of the Star Wars, like, not
yeah.
Rogue Squadron, but there was a space fighter that had, like, Doom, all the monsters are sprites there, they're just, like, pieces of plastic, which is fine for its time, but when it's an anime and there's so many different things moving around at once, and then you've got the premise of these people the whole thing I'm thinking about the whole time I'm watching the anime, aside from, like, looking at the how things just don't line up. It could be a fun anime. I don't know. It could be a guilty pleasure anime. Some people have told me it's good for that, but I'm just thinking about how sweaty are their hands going to be. What's going to happen when they're taking a shower? Because she seemed pretty young to me, but then again,
Using the bathroom. It's like that Gintama clip where they're doing the handstand in the bathroom because they're
yeah,
handcuffed together. Have to be like that.
it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. You know that studio, Go Hands. I'm pretty sure every single anime they've made recently involves characters in the main plot having to hold hands.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at some of this now.
They have a
I've
new
never
one
seen
coming
any
out
of
too.
these shows, though.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
all shows that I looked at and I thought, "Nah."
Pretty
So far.
much. Pretty much. Yeah, maybe in the future. I've dabbled with the idea of watching it because there's certainly anime that just come out of nowhere and you don't expect. Like I think like Keijo is one of those where it's just you don't expect it to be uh as good as it is, but maybe it
Whoa.
shouldn't be as good as it is, but it is good. I don't know.
Have you ever seen, X 1999?
No, I have not.
Do you know about it?
I do. I do, yeah.
Okay, so, it's a sequel to a manga called Tokyo Babylon.
Tokyo Babylon. That sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah, well, Tokyo Babylon, there's a 2021 anime that's coming out, Tokyo Babylon. So it's basically the prequel to X 1999, but guess who's, producing it?
Oh my god.
Go Hands.
What?
Yeah.
In the 90s?
No, not in the 90s, 2021, it's coming out
Oh,
next
oh.
year. I
Oh,
don't think it's ever had an anime adaptation, but there's a manga of, Tokyo Babylon, but it is like the prequel
oh
to
my
X
god.
1999.
Oh my god. Will
Yeah,
will they have hand holding? I wonder.
they might. I mean, some of the crazy shit that happened in X. The X is wild. X is another one of those anime. You ever seen, Escaflowne?
Oh, I love Escaflowne.
So you've seen the anime series or the movie? Maybe both.
I've seen both.
Okay, so you see how different the anime movie, not that great, but it's got beautiful animation, so
Yes.
much better
So
compared to
good.
the series. But X 1999 is another one of those because there were lots of them, like the Rurouni Kenshin anime, then there was Trust and Betrayal, and then there was Escaflowne and the Escaflowne movie. There was some anime out there that the movie just came out and blew away the animation, but the story wasn't really that great. Like, there was also SDF Macross with Do You Remember Love, where they kind of fooled
Yeah.
around the story of that, Fist of
Yeah.
the North Star. But X 1999 was also like that. It had a movie that was just wild. Basically, I don't even know how I got off on this tangent. We're talking about handshakers and Babylon. But anyways, it's people just fighting to save the earth. There's like a team of people that want to save it, a team of people that want to destroy it, and they're fighting around in the air. And there's crazy, like people got crazy powers and stuff. Like one girl controls computers, and it's just great 90s edge. And if you
Yeah.
love stuff like Shadow Skill, then that's fun. But it's got a lot of female fan service in it. It's a clamp anime or clamp manga, so it's got the feminine men.
Well, well
But the
nothing
feminine men of the 90s are nothing compared to the average male anime character of modern anime.
nothing when and it fails never fails to happen when somebody mentions clamp. My mind immediately goes to in what is that android robot girl where she's like
Oh,
chee
Chobits.
chobits, yeah, it's where he turns her on via a button on her crotch.
Mhm.
Yep. That's what my mind immediately goes to.
Well, I mean,
You gotta
you
turn
can
your
kinda
ladies on somehow.
turn them on that way.
Well.
If there's a button to turn a woman on, it might as well be there.
Right. Uh, Bob Samurai, where can they find you?
Alright, you're kicking me out of here for that comment.
I'm
Alright.
kicking you out.
YouTube.com/Bob Samurai, Twitch Bob Samurai, Twitter Bob Samurai.
Anything that's not Bob Samurai.
There's probably some people out there that use Bob Samurai, but you're Bob Samurai. Just Google.
All right, all Bob Samurai. Thanks everybody for watching the video. If you made it all the way through this was tremendous fun. Tremendous amount
Yeah,
of
it was
fun.
fun. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. If you
No
haven't
problem.
already, do all the things YouTubers usually tell you to do. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
You better subscribe to him. I'll find you. And I'll tickle your nose in your sleep.
Oh God, not the nose.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody. See ya.
Later.